So it's Christmas time, and you know what I wanted for Christmas back in 1991? I'll tell you what, I wanted Tecmo Super Bowl. Yeah, you know, Tecmo Super Bowl, one of the best football games in history. I will never get tired of playing this game. Now, I know that some people criticize the way that the computer plays defense, especially in the secondary. But all of that becomes more difficult when the computer figures out your play calling patterns, especially after you start winning games. The game will become harder. And no matter how good you are at this game, it's a game that is always going to be there to challenge you. So part of that is because you've got so many challenges to overcome just in the base game alone, including trying to win with teams that are really hard to win with. I mean, anybody can win with like the Raiders with Bo Jackson, the 49ers, you know, with Joe Montana and all of that. But can you win with like the Colts or the Patriots? So back in the days when something like this showed up in the mail, you knew what section that you would turn to. Sure, the clothing manufacturers try to get your attention with stuff like this, as if you actually wanted like a shirt or a sweater for Christmas. And I don't know about you guys, but my parents never got me stuff like this for Christmas anyway. Now, you really had to dig deep into the catalog before you started getting to the good stuff. Yeah, that's right. Card collecting was such a big thing in the early 90s, you could order unopened wax boxes from the Sears catalog. Not only that, but people legitimately thought that this was a great investment. But I'll have more for you on that subject on another video. And you had to dig even deeper before you actually got to the video games, which is where the really good stuff was. And of course, this was in the golden days of Nintendo. Unfortunately though, no matter how hard you look in this one, you will not find Tecmo Super Bowl listed here. I guess you'll have to actually call that 800 number to see if they have it in stock. Now the thing is, you've got to remember that most of us only found out about like what the new games were through catalogs like this one or through like advertisements like in newspapers. And maybe if you were lucky you had like Nintendo Power, or maybe like your friend had it. For me, the library had it. That tells you what kind of kid I was growing up. But even if you had that, you would be lucky to get like a review that was usually just like a page or two of like a couple pictures and a really bland description. And even then, Nintendo Power might not cover your game in time for Christmas. It wasn't until this January 1992 issue that Nintendo Power covered Tecmo Super Bowl. Now that was right after the Super Nintendo came out, and do you guys remember trying to hook both of those things up to the same TV at the same time? Well, at least Tecmo Super Bowl got an epic 4-page review, which was kind of rare for a sports game in those days. And I gotta be honest, these features blew my mind when I read about them. I mean, it was clear that this game could do anything. But there's still other ways that we could figure out at that time that Tecmo Super Bowl came out. I mean, it's not like there were like no other publications, right? There was more than just the Sears catalog. I used to love ads like this. I would pore over the games for hours. And there it is in the top left-hand corner, though it's kind of blurry because of the quality of this scam. Now, for the most part, you were looking at spending about $50 for this game brand new, and it was a lot better than these other games, I'll tell you that. And if you were really lucky, you would run into a sale like this. Look, 15% off. Now, the thing is that back in those days, there was no internet, and the video game magazines were basically just like advertising vehicles, so you didn't know if like the game you were getting was really good or if it was just a piece of garbage. And I know for a fact that there are a lot of parents out there that made the wrong decision. So like, imagine if your mom got you NFL by LJN instead. You would be furious if you had to play this trash. Now, the problem is that the box for this game actually looked pretty cool. You had no way of knowing the horrors that awaited you. So you really better hope that mom and dad got you the right game. I mean, imagine being stuck with like LJN's NFL for like years. I mean, that's child abuse. Anyway, the thing is that if they chose the right game, you had decades worth of fun waiting ahead of you. So Tecmo Super Bowl is amazing in part because of how easy it is to change stuff just in the game itself. The gameplay is simple and it's fast and it's always fun. And the world that it creates is absolutely immersive. But you know, the best part of all is that we don't have to sit here and reminisce about the old game and play it over and over again. Now, the cool thing is that people have figured out sort of how the internal logic of the game works. And there are more modified versions of this game out there now than ever before. We're in a golden age. So sure, you can get an NES cartridge version of one of the recent releases, you know, if you really want to. It might be a little expensive. But I recommend going the emulation route. Get one of the modified versions that the community has put out for free and have a lot of fun with that instead. In fact, there are even versions of this game out there that are designed to make the computer a lot harder to beat, and it includes stuff like speed-ups for the handoffs, modified blocking, and all sorts of other goodies. You can even play with a version that makes you play as player 2 when you're on the road in one-player mode. The harder versions are actually harder than the original game. The computer responds quickly to your mistakes on defense. But just take a close look at the blocking here. It's a thing of beauty. This is that push-pull blocking hack, and it's awesome. This is the best I've seen in any 2D football game, including modern games. And the thing is that the community comes out with these versions like every year. You know, like you don't even need to mess around with the latest version of Madden, which, I mean, hasn't been good for decades, right? You don't need to play any of the other garbage that's out there. Just stick with good old Tecmo Super Bowl, the game you already know how to play. And if that's not enough for you, there are other mods that are among the most impressive football projects I have ever seen. Now, those of you who are truly enlightened can play Tecmo Grey Cup with the authentic Canadian Football League teams. Notice the 110-yard field, which ought to increase your Canadian pride. The end zones are huge, which gives the game that authentic touch. And I had the strangest Tecmo Super Bowl play I've ever seen while playing this version. And there are others. In fact, they've made versions of this game for every single NFL season going back to 1966, and then a couple seasons before that too, and there's a lot more to come. The 1966 version is fantastic. And I've mentioned Tecmo Super Bowl Gold Edition by Baron von Lechter in the past. This version includes the best players of all time for every one of the NFL teams. I consider this version the best, the gold standard of the Tecmo Super Bowl mods. But you know, there's a ton of mods out there and I haven't actually played them all yet. So I'm going to look around and kind of decide which one to start with, and I'm going to start a project with it, and it's going to start really soon. And not only that, I'm going to start putting some of these gameplay videos here on YouTube. So, you know, the way that this works is when you try to create these videos, you're always looking for B-roll and stuff. Usually I'll play the game, have B-roll, and it just sits on my computer. And I figure, well, I might as well provide some commentary when I play with it and stick it on YouTube and, you know, see if people want to watch it or not. Then you can watch me as I totally suck at this game, or maybe as I play well. I don't know, it sort of depends on what my luck is like. I'll put a couple of these out there for free, and the rest will be for channel members. So consider becoming a member if you haven't already, and look for this starting up probably right after the holidays are done. Seriously, Tecmo Super Bowl is better than ever, and it's a fantastic game. I honestly don't think I will ever get sick of playing this game. And you know, if it's been a while for you, you really should pick it up again. And you know, all of this doesn't even count two-player competitive mode. I haven't even tried that yet, right? Mostly because I feel like I'm not quite good enough at this game yet to do that. But anyway, I'll have more on that stuff later, and hey, you never know what the future holds. Until that though, stay cool and keep playing Tecmo Super Bowl, and I'm gonna have a lot more content coming for you guys.